Today we're going to go work on projectile motion. So we got a racquetball that is dropped from a building, and every one of these will have a negative 4.9 t squared. Negative 4.9 t squared means that it is the gravitational constant in meters. That's going to be important. So negative 4.9 means that it is falling at negative 4.9 meters per second squared. Okay. If it's negative 16 t squared, then it is in feet squared. So our first one says we're going to sketch a graph, and we want to know what happens when it's going to equal 0. So we got our equation here, 4.9 t squared plus 125. We don't know what t is. How many seconds is it going to reach 0? So that we'll put a question mark there. But we know that r of t equals 0. So I could take out my r of t and substitute in the value of 0. So let's look at this. We're just going to say, r of t equals 0. R of t, we don't know what t is, but let's just take that and swap it out. Substitute it in, and now let's solve for t. So we're going to write that down. Okay, so we're going to subtract 125 from both sides. And that leaves me with negative 125 on one side is equivalent to negative 4.9 t squared. So then we're going to come along and divide both sides by a negative 4.9. Divide by negative 4.9. That will make both sides positive. And we put that in the calculator. It's going to be about 5. Okay. So find out. Just go ahead and write it as 125 divided by 4.9 equals t squared. So 125 divided by 4.9 was 25.51 equals t squared. Then we're going to take the square root of that. So it's going to be a little bit over 5. So if we take the square root of that and take the square root of that. Now if you're using a calculator, I'm just using a plain old scientific one, you have to turn your phone sideways to get that. So it gives me 5.05, 074251. We're just going to use the 5.05. I'm not going to say it's exactly 5 seconds because we've got that 0.51 part there. Okay, so r of 0, got another one that says r of 0 is 4.90 squared plus 125 because they're asking us to sketch a graph. Well, I need to know what is my intercept. So if I want to find, the x-intercepts, my y-intercept, and the maximum. And so to find the x-coordinate of the vertex, we're going to take negative b divided by 2a as long as we are in standard form. Remember, standard form is ax squared plus bx plus some constant c equals some value. Usually it is 0. So we're going to use that. The x-coordinate is negative b over 2a. Our equation that we have is negative 4.9 t squared plus 125. I'm looking for a trinomial because we got an a squared plus a bx plus a c. I only have 2 here, so we will rewrite it so that we have all 3 terms. 4.9 t squared plus 0t plus 125 means that we have a trinomial here because our powers are reducing by 1 every time. Okay, so we got our a is negative 4.9, b is 0, c is 125. We don't care about that. I substitute in a negative 0. Well, that's still going to be 0. But I have to do the math. So 2 times negative 4.9 is 9.8. Anything that divides into 0 is 0. So when x is 0, my y is 125. So I'm going to make these by 25s. 75. There's about 100. About 125 would be about there. Okay, so I'm going to put a point. And your scaling does not have to be the same on both of them. So that's my maximum value. Because it's going to be dropped. Means if it was tossed up in the air, there would be a maximum, a different maximum. But if it's thrown down, this is also the maximum. But if it's tossed up in the air, you would have a different maximum. Okay, so let's go ahead and start sketching those together. Come on. Sometimes it's easier if you work backwards. Okay, there we go. All right. So now they're asking us what value of t will make that. In other words, how many seconds has to elapse for it to be 40. Remember, we're just going to substitute that in that 40. And we're going to put in our equation side. Okay. And we're going to subtract 125 from both sides. 125 is the larger of the two values. In other words, it is if the absolute value would be greater, so that sign will be negative, and since both signs are not the same, they are disagreeing, we would subtract the smaller value from the larger absolute value. So just to double check, 40 minus 125 should give us a negative 185, and it does. Okay. And then we're going to divide that by our negative 4.9. And we get 17.349. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And we're going to get 4 point something on this. So 4.16. Let's double check it. Check that. 17 point. Where is it? 3.49. Gives us approximately 4.165. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that t is approximately 4.165. Because they didn't say how many decimals to round to. So 4.165 is what we're going to record here. What do these values mean in this problem? Well, it means that the ball will be 40 feet above the ground at approximately after about 4.165 seconds has elapsed. Oh, sorry. Oh, my allergies are driving me crazy today. Doing an edit here. Okay, what is the value of what is the vertex? Well, of course, the vertex is 0 and 25. X-axis symmetry is x equals 0 because it's always the x coordinate. Find r of 0 is 125. What does it mean? It is the height of the ball before it is dropped. Should be before it was dropped. Okay, the other problems are just like this. So those are your homework. All right, we got some vocabulary words here. There are 5 of them. There are 5 problems. Watch out because you got 2 things that look like they could be trinomials. Only one is a true trinomial. The other one is a polynomial. So remember the definition of what is a trinomial. We'll have to deal with the powers. Okay? All right. Now this last one, we're going to go ahead and I'm pick the most complicated one here, and that would be letter E. We've got that we are taking a quadratic formula, and we are going to stretch it by a factor of 3, shift it to the right 15, shift it down 15, and we want to know, where does that function equal 12? In other words, on this particular quadratic or parabola, where will that cross 12? Well, there's our variable that we're solving for. This is a good idea to do. I box it in, and because there's multiple things to do, I'm just going to box the next step, and then I'm going to box the next step, so that whatever's left on the outside will be the first thing that we're going to remove. So we've got that subtract 15. We're going to add 15 to both sides to clear the to get the 15 out of the way. So it's going to leave us with 3 times the quantity x plus 15 squared equals 27. Then we're going to divide both sides by 3, which that now leaves us with x plus 15 squared equals 9. Then we're going to take the square root of both sides. Okay. Remember that when we have a square root, it has a plus value and a negative value, because 3 times 3 gives us 9, and negative 3 times negative 3 gives us 9. So we're going to write this twice. X plus 15 equals positive 3, and then x plus 15 equals negative 3. I don't know why I left so much room in there. I shouldn't have. Okay, so we're going to solve this one for it. So we're going to subtract 15. I'm going to subtract 15, and that's going to leave us x equals a negative 12. And now we're going to subtract 15 again. I'm going to subtract 15, and that means we're going to have x equals negative 18. Okay, so when we get ready to sketch this out, everything is going to be over in the second quadrant. All right, so this is my GeoGebra application on my phone. Like I said, it looks just like what it is on the computer, and I'm typing in exactly what I saw as this equation. So 3 parentheses x plus 15 squared minus 15. Now we can't put in equals 12, because otherwise it'll give us just a couple points. All right, now I also need to put in y equals 12, so I get that other function up here. Now the points that I will want is the minimum. So if I click on that right there, it gave me the extremum, which is the minimum. And it gave us where those 2 points are going through. So I want the 2 points on 12, and I want whatever the minimum or maximum is. What is the vertex coordinates? Okay. So this one here is negative 1812, which is what we expected. And then our other one is going to be negative 1212, and it also gives you the points up here on GeoGebra, up there at the corner. Okay, I forgot to put in my closing parentheses. Okay, and then my extremum is negative 15, negative 15. All right.